Hi there, it's Gemma here from Surrey Libraries, and today I'm here to show you how to make the treble crochet stitch in rows to make a small sample like so. This is a follow-on video from my first beginner's crochet tutorial, which you can find on the Surrey Libraries YouTube channel. So today what I'm going to be using is some chunky wool in a light colour. This is really good because it's a bigger wool which you use with a bigger hook, which makes making your stitches a bit easier, and also choosing a wool in a light colour helps you see your stitches better. If you only have double knit or DK wool, that's absolutely fine. You can use that as well, but you will need a smaller hook to the one that I'm using today. With the chunky wool, I am using a size 6 hook. If you're going to use double knit or DK wool, you will need a size 4 or 4.5 hook. Okay. The other thing you will need is a pair of scissors. And if you have it, a stitch marker is really useful. If you don't have one of these, you can actually use a safety pin or a paper clip instead. Okay. So to start this tutorial, I'm going to make a chain of 10, and then I'm going to put in one row of double crochet, because I think this makes it easier for you to then start making your treble crochet stitches. Now, if you can't remember how to do that, or if you're coming to this as a complete beginner, if you check out my beginner's tutorial that I mentioned on Surrey YouTube channel, I can show you how to do that, and you'll be ready to join me in the next frame to make the treble crochet stitch. Okay, so I will let you gather your things together and I will see you in the next frame. Okay, so we've got to the end of that first row of double crochet, and we can now start doing the treble crochet stitches. So the first thing we need to do when we get to the end of a row of crochet is to make what's called a turning chain. And for a treble crochet, because it's a tall stitch, that turning chain is 3 chains. So we're going to make 3 chains. 1, 2 and 3. Okay, and what that does is it raises our hook up quite a lot here, and then it also allows us to turn the work, because we're going to work back in the opposite direction into these stitches here. Okay, you can see those little V shapes again. Okay, and the other thing to remember about when you're making treble crochet is that this, because it's a tall stitch, this chain 3 is actually going to count as the first stitch of your row. Okay, it's not a true treble, but because you have to bring your hook up, that 3 chain is going to count as your first stitch. So that's quite an important thing to remember when you're actually counting your stitches, to make sure that you've got enough stitches. So what we do is, once we've done that 3 chain, we're going to work into these stitches. Now, you're not going to work into the stitch right at the bottom of that chain 3, which is there where my 2 fingers are. If you can see, it's a little V shape there. We're going to skip that one, and then we're going to work into this next one here. Okay, you only do that with a treble. It's because it's a longer stitch, you just skip that one there. If you were doing a double crochet, you'd actually go into that stitch first, because it's a much shorter stitch. But for this, you skip that one at the bottom of the 3 chain and you start in the next one. Okay, so to our treble crochet. First thing you do with a treble crochet, first thing to remember to do is to yarn around the hook first. From back to front, yarn around your hook. Okay, then you're going to put that hook through your stitch from front to back. Remember to go under both of those little V, both the bars of the V. Okay, and then with your yarn, keeping your yarn behind the hook and behind your piece of work, you're just going to grab it and pull it back through that stitch. Okay, and so as you can see, you should have 3 loops on your hook. Okay, and when you pull it, don't be tempted to kind of pull it quite tight like this. Just let the yarn go and draw it up a little bit, sort of to the same height as that chain 3 there. Okay, so you've got the 3 loops on the hook. And then from here, you're going to yarn around your hook again from back to front, and then you're going to pull this loop through the first 2 here. Okay, so we're going to do that now, pull through the first 2. Okay, and then we're going to repeat that step, yarn around your hook from back to front, and pull through the next 2 here. Okay, and that is your treble crochet. You've actually finished your stitch there. Okay, and you've got 1 loop left on the hook. Okay, so I'll show you that again. You find your next stitch, which is going to be this one here, this little V shape here. Remember, yarn around your hook first, go into the stitch from front to back under both bars. You can twist your hook a little bit to grab that yarn. Grab the yarn from behind and pull back through, pull up a little bit, 3 loops on your hook. Okay, then we're going to go around the yarn again, around the hook again from back to front, and then we're going to pull this loop through the first 2. Okay, and then we're going to go around the hook again and back to front. We're going to pull this loop through the second 2. And there you have your next treble stitch. And yeah, you should just have 1 loop left on your hook when you finish the stitch. If you end up with more than 1 loop, it means you either haven't finished the stitch or you may have made a mistake and grabbed 2 loops somewhere along the line before you got to this stage. Now it is quite a lot more complicated than the double crochet. There are more steps to the stitch, so take your time. Don't get too stressed if you mess it up the first few times, because there are quite a lot of things to remember. But as I said before, it is sort of one of the essential stitches really to crochet. So once you've mastered this, it does open up a whole lot more crochet patterns to you if you intend to sort of take your crochet further. Also, because it's a very tall stitch, your crochet will grow a lot quicker because these stitches are taller. So obviously with each row your crochet is going to grow quicker. Okay, so I'll show you that once more. So with a treble, always remember, yarn around your hook first, put it through the next stitch from front to back. Okay, keeping the yarn behind the hook and behind the piece of work. Grab that yarn, pull through, 3 loops on the hook. Yarn around the hook again from back to front and pull through the first 2. Okay, then yarn around the hook again and pull through these 2. Okay, and there you have your treble crochet stitches. And if I just turn that towards you, you will see you've got your little V-shaped stitches there again, ready for the next row. Okay, they look exactly the same as the ones for the double crochet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you to go along the row to the end. Make sure you catch that last stitch there. It can be a little bit, can hide a little bit. And then once you've got to the end of your row, I'll join you back here to show you what to do next. Okay, so we're at the end of that first row of treble crochet there, as you can see. And so what we need to do next, again, is that turning chain. So if you remember, it's 3 chain. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, then we're going to turn our work again and carry on as before back along these stitches to the end. Okay, so I'll just remind you again, remember, you're not going into that stitch directly at the bottom of your 3 chain. Sometimes it can be a bit tricky to see, but if you follow your chain down and then it's the the first one really right at the bottom. Okay, so you skip that one and you make your first treble of the next row into this stitch here. So I'll just show you again. Yarn around your hook, put it through that stitch from front to back, grab your yarn from behind and pull back through. So there are 3 loops on your hook. Okay, yarn around your hook again from back to front and pull through the first 2. Okay, then yarn around your hook again and pull through the second 2. Okay, so I'll leave you to make your stitches again all the way back along this row, and then I'll rejoin you here at this chain 3 right at the end. So if you carry on into that very last stitch there, and then I'll show you how to deal with this chain 3 here at the end. Okay. Okay, so we're at the end of your second row and we've come to this chain 3 that you made at the beginning of the first row of trebles. Now I should have said actually at the beginning, it's a good idea when you make that chain 3 to put a stitch marker, if you've got one, just into the top of that chain 3 before you move on. If you haven't got a stitch marker, you can use a safety pin or a paper clip, or even just a little piece of wool in there just to mark it. And this is useful because it shows you where the top of that chain is. And the reason that's useful is because, as I said at the beginning, this chain 3 counts as your first stitch of the row. So it's really important that when you get to the end of your second row, you actually treat this like a stitch. If you miss it, you will drop a stitch with every row and your crochet will start to go diagonally. The edge will start to be diagonal instead of straight. And what you'll end up with is a triangle, which is fine if you want a triangle. But if you want a square or a rectangle, you need to keep these edges straight. So what we do here is we come to the top of this chain 3 where that stitch marker is. I'm actually going to take it out now just so that I can get into the stitch. And you find that top chain, which is kind of there, and you do your treble exactly the same. So you go around your hook and then you just put your hook through the top of that chain 3 there into that top chain. And then you carry on the stitch exactly as before, grab the yarn, pull it back through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn around your hook again from back to front, pull a loop through the first 2, and yarn around the hook and pull through the second 2. And as you can see, what that does is it just keeps these stitches on top of one another and it keeps your edge relatively straight. Crochet edge is never completely straight. Yeah, instead of it kind of going off at an angle. Okay, so just remember it's really important to include that chain as a stitch with every row. Put a stitch marker in once you've done it if it helps you identify that at the end of every row. So then for the next row, once again we're going to make that chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to actually put the stitch marker in it this time to show you what to do. So once you've made that third chain, it's a little bit tricky, but if you just pop that through there you go, and then when you come back in the other direction you'll see it and it'll remind you to make your last stitch into the top there where that stitch marker is. So then once again we turn our work, just move him out of the way, and again yarn around your hook to start, skip this little stitch here and make your next stitch in to this one here, the next one along. So I'll just show you one more time. Yarn around your hook first, really important with the treble. Put your hook from front to back through that stitch, grab your yarn from behind and pull back through, yarn around the hook again and pull through the first 2 loops, yarn around again and pull through the next 2 loops. Leaving 1 loop on your hook. Okay, so I'll let you finish the 3rd row and then I'll just show you how to do that chain 3 once again at the end and then fasten off, because obviously when you're happy with the length of your piece of work you just need to fasten off securely. Okay, so I'll meet you back here just before that next chain 3. Okay, so we're at the end of our 3rd row and once again we've reached this chain 3 which counts as a stitch. So we're going to yarn around our hook, find that top chain, which is, as long as you put it in somewhere at the top here and not down here, then it doesn't matter too much where you put your hook, but if you can find that top chain, it can be a little bit tricky. There we go. So then pull your yarn back through 3 loops on your hook. Okay, try and keep it loose. Yarn around your hook and pull through the first 2 and then yarn around your hook and pull through the second 2. And there you go, your row is finished and you've got a nice straightish edge there. Okay, so if by this point you wanted to fasten off, all you do to fasten off is you just do 1 chain like this, and then you will just cut your yarn, leave about sort of 10 centimetres so that you can get it onto a needle. Okay, so we've done that 1 chain and we've cut our yarn, and then all you do is just pull, pull, pull like this and then tighten into a knot like that. Okay, and then with your tail you can put that on the end of a needle and you can just run it through these stitches along here to secure that tail in. Okay, and so there you have your little sample of treble crochet. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today. Good luck with your crochet if you decide to go forward with it, and this is a really good way of learning the stitch because you're just making it over and over again, so it's a really good way to learn that treble crochet stitch. One last thing I do just need to tell you is that I have just showed you how to make a UK treble crochet stitch. In America, the treble crochet, or the stitch that we call a treble crochet, is known as a double crochet, which is a bit confusing because we also have a double crochet stitch as well, which is that smaller stitch. But I'm just pointing it out to you because if you decide to take your crochet further and you start to look at crochet patterns, it's really important that you try to establish whether the pattern is a UK pattern or a US pattern, because the names for the stitches are different, and you do need to check that before you start your work. Most good patterns will tell you whether they're using UK terms or US terms. Okay, so anyway, yeah, good luck with your crochet, and I will maybe see you again soon. Okay, bye.